Well, hello everyone in the Benelux and or perhaps Germany as well. And I think this video is being shown for the first time at Peter's masterclass this weekend. So it's just a little message from us, mainly about the bioenergetic wellness system and to answer some of your questions and concerns over the cloud-based system. But before we get into that, I just want to thank you for supporting Ness over all of these years. I have to say it's not actually one of our proudest moments of when Peter died. The company was put in a very significant loss because the staff in Europe had expanded from 7 people to 21, and then unfortunately because it was in a loss-making scenario, there was an awful lot of cuts, and it obviously got reduced down to the two people that we have now, which is Alexandra and Nicole, and we're very grateful for Peter, who's obviously been sort of taking up that flame and supporting and building back up the Benelux community. And as of now, we also sort of want to further the support and growth that's back in Europe. So there's a few things that we're doing or have done to make that much easier. The first is a pretty simple thing, but the newsletters that you all used to get. So we're beginning to do those again in the Dutch and both in the Dutch and the German language. And then the other side is actually just around training. Now, like the whole of the Ness philosophy or the bioenergetic philosophy, it isn't always well understood how that came about, but it really was a collaboration of many people. It wasn't all Peter, although he was a very large contributor to that. And over the last few years, there's been a number of refinements where we've also dug sort of deep back into the previous research, modernized it and tied it up to some other ideas like with Gerald Pollack's structured water, like with some just a lot of research into light and other areas. And Steve McCall and myself, over the past couple of years, have basically really done a lot of refinement to get to sort of these core bioenergetic principles, which are probably much more well known in the trainings that we do in the US. And they're also being put into a new book that we have coming out. Unfortunately, I put my hand up and apologise that we haven't really communicated that information out into European languages. So we will start to do that now. And that really is one of the great advantages of the bioenergetic wellness system, because it's in the cloud and everyone in the world can access it. And we're basically able to do translations in real time. So basically, the day we produce something in English, it comes out in German, in Dutch, in French, in Italian, in Spanish, etc. Basically in all of those languages, both in video and in text. And obviously, that makes a very, very significant difference to the knowledge base, because say to us, it's really important that we're able to both provide the sort of the cutting edge and leading edge of where the knowledge is, but also honour the past and historical knowledge. So all of that information is also contained in the cloud, so you can come at it from a simple type point of view and then go as deep as you wish. Which obviously many of you were here 10 plus years ago and know the original material. So that's just to start off. So we'll just have a little look at some of the advantages of the cloud system. Again, I think over time, things were in different places. You had Provision, you had like a client biosync, you had quantum health training. Well, I think in Benelux, I think it was probably the Bioenergetic Institute training at the time. So there's basically a lot of jumping around on different sites, and where you can find stuff. The great thing of the cloud system is basically one single login, all your scanning, training, shop, content, the whole thing's just in one place. Without you having to jump through lots of different sites and hoops to find out what you want to do. The second, you don't have to have that software locked to one computer. You can basically access it from any computer or tablet, and pretty soon your mobile phone, which will be a massive leap forward, because you'll just be able to put the scanner, which will have a Bluetooth chip in it, and then it'll just sync with your phone, and so you can scan basically anyone, anywhere, just from your back pocket or your pocket. Also, it means, say, we are able to and do continual improvements to the user experience. So before, we would deploy Provision, I don't know, it was around once a year we would do a fairly large release. But now, we literally, we listen and observe all the comments on Facebook, basically daily, and then we're basically iterating the experience to everyone's feedback, which means basically the system just gets better and better continuously, and so we're basically able to constantly improve rapidly your experience, instead of a very long period of where you get an enhancement. The other, I guess we've already said it in a way, but training is fully integrated into the cloud experience. You want to know what Peter said on a driver, or how we view emotional immunity these days. It's just right there next to the scan, so you don't have to go digging around, clicking around. It also means that we're able to provide also clients to people, because again, everything's in the cloud. We can acquire clients and then schedule them directly to practitioners. So in Europe, that may take a little bit longer, but we also have all of that planned. And then we also have things like the client portal, which within the client portal, there's an awful lot of information or educational content that you probably repetitively say to your clients, like, what is an nutraceutical? How does it work? How do you take follow your recommendations? How do you teach them to eat healthily, etc., etc. Basically, the client portal provides them all of that educational content, so that you don't have to. So it saves a lot of time and sort of does all of the communications for you. The other side, which is a really large side, is the cloud-based system is very, very research orientated, because we're collecting questionnaires, we're able to collect voice data, we're able to collect HRV data. That means over time that we can decode the human body field to a much further extent. And I know, of course, we wrote the book Decoding Human Body Field, and we think all of that, it was decoded, but we probably decoded, a fraction of 1% of the human body field at the time, and and it's great, and it gives a great sort of snapshot of what's going on in the body. There's a lot of information, in photon emissions on from your fingertips, from electron transfer through galvanic skin response, through voice, through pulse, etc. So because it's now in a cloud-based system, we're basically able to collect more data, and that ends up translating to more accurate results, and a better clinical experience. So that's that's a big reason we're doing it. Now, what else was I going to say? Also, we're able to save an awful lot of time for practitioners, because things like booking clients, invoicing, scheduling, arranging video conferencing, giving your client your Skype handle or whatever it is, and filling out questionnaires, all of these things take time. They take so much time. I think they take around like 30-40% of a practitioner's time. So that we can cut down to pretty much zero, which gives you can either have more time for yourself and family, or seeing more patients, or whatever you wish to do. So that's also hugely helpful. Now, just getting to the crunch, I guess the crunch of some of these things. So I did hear that I did people were worried about data, and the GDPR regulations. Just like with the My Health, we went through the process for Europe, basically of getting it approved as a medical class to a device. The same with the biogenetic wellness system. We just don't release things without doing all our due diligence and research. So in sense with that, obviously we hired a GDPR consultant at the time. We basically made sure that we were basically completely compliant in everything we're doing, and a list of those things. Well, I'll just read them off, but One, we only hold the data in GDPR approved countries, so we obey that. Well, we obey it all, but basically that's one. We only hold data with GDPR compliant services like Amazon, etc. We have agreement text for clients when signing up to the consent of holding of their data. We have a process in place in the unlikely event of data breaches. When it comes to data breaches, that's extremely unlikely because we have military grade encryption to store all of that data. We also constantly assess all of our data security, so we only ever use the latest technology used. We have a process in place for requests for data removal by customers, so if they want their data removed, it's just removed. We also don't share the data with anyone else, and we only store the data we need for offering the services that we've agreed to. And I say our whole technology team, led by Dave in the UK, is totally trained on the requirements of GDPR to ensure it remains both safe and compliant. So, in short, it's all compliant, and please don't worry about anything to do with GDPR. It's all been taken care of. Okay, so next thing. Well, here you can just see a little slide of this is just an example of how BWS or some of BWS looks in Dutch, just to show you that it is in Dutch now. And what else was I going to say? I know. We will go to this other. So this is a little presentation we gave in London on where basically the future cloud technology is going and some of the stuff it does. Just imagine this. So as I say, actually, it wasn't just a third. Actually, we did a bit of research in this. So it's estimated that practitioners spend 2/3 of their time on administration, which is rather a lot. So there's all these different manual processes that take you away from direct contact with your clients, like initial inquiries, booking appointments, intake forms, analysis of client information, follow-up and review, and taking payments. So what we're really looking at with the cloud is like, what can we do to maximize your time with your clients and then look after more of your admin for you? So that might mean you don't need to employ so many people in your clinic, or you might not need a clinic at all. You can run the whole thing remotely. So basically, how can we create a customized experience for gathering all this initial information from clients without having to involve your valuable time? Well, there's a few ways to look at this. One is like booking appointments. Now you can see here, these are this is just an example of some some scheduling software that we've been building in. So you can basically set up your calendar. You can set when your availability is, the length of your appointments. You can set up text message reminders for appointments to your clients. You can allow clients to book their own appointments. And then we also have video conferencing all embedded in the Nest portal for the remote sessions, which means you don't have to worry about Zoom and Skype and all of that type of thing. Now, further to that, we also look at sort of the intake form side of it. Now, all of us as practitioners generally have really long client intake forms, where we collect all the client history. It's mostly done in a paper format, which takes time. You have to give them the forms, you have to collect them. They're in paper, so they're not computerized and all the rest of it. Whereas instead, basically, the system can email all your clients ahead of time, can gather all of their current and historical health data, work out their health goals for the visit, and all of that type of things, which basically means A, it saves you a lot of time, but B, and this is a research point of view, it also means when we collect their voice data and HRV data and other data, biometric data in the future, and even stuff like facial recognition, like we believe there's a lot of health information just in people's pictures. As we basically collect all that information, and then we have this database of all of their historical health data, it means we can correlate all of that, and well, in short, we end up with a much more accurate health system, which of course is good for everyone. So that's that. What else we're going to say? Yeah, just things like managing payments. You don't actually need you don't need your own credit card services, or billing systems, or you don't have to write invoices or anything like that, because basically all of that can be taken care of within the cloud system as well. It sends them automatic receipts, it drop ships all the infoceuticals, etc., etc. So, all of that's taken care of. Now let's have a little look more at the whole machine learning end. Well, what can HRV tell us? HRV is sort of interesting. I'm sure most of you will have heard of it, and how it's looking at the autonomic nervous system. But it can also give you pretty detailed information on on breathing, the nervous system, heart obviously. So you've got your sort of, and if you like, they're like the three core drivers. How the main body field is generated by the nervous system, heart and lungs. Well, HRV can give you that information. Two, can also tell you blood sugar, cortisol, stress, all of those types of things, circadian rhythms, etc. So we basically believe that we're when I say pretty soon, within a year, we will be able to you can just put your thumb on the phone camera, record your voice. We'll be able to tell a lot of sort of basic health coaching type information of your client, which will be, well, very useful for your client, but also obviously useful for you, and you can see all of that data in the cloud system yourself. What can voice tell us? As many of you will know, different frequencies or lack of frequencies have indications to various health conditions or various wellness factors. But no, in a way, actually, no one really knows, because the voice research that has generally been done to date has not taken a machine learning approach. It's sort of it's just been done in a clinical setting, sort of one patient at a time over many years. What we're able to do with this is basically have tens of thousands of people's voice samples with all of their clinical data, and then machine learning is a little bit like a black box, but it basically looks for patterns. It might look for chords. It might look for how different subsets of groups of frequencies. It might look for intonation, volume, all sorts of different patterns that will be in your voice that that traditional sound therapists wouldn't have ever looked at before, nor have the technology to be able to do. So that's quite an exciting area for us. So that's a little example. What else? Yeah, well, anyway, so all of that basically, that all equals a lot of new health discoveries, where we can really further the work of decoding the human body field. So we might have decoded some of the information field of the body. We didn't necessarily decode the photon field, the phonon field, etc., etc. So we're going to further on that work and see where we end up, which is pretty exciting. Now, what else? There's a few other little things that we just wanted to share. Well, I guess I think we said, one is just training is all embedded, so that's easy. The other one is about biosync. So with biosync, now biosync is basically the offline application where your clients and you do a scan, and then all the results end up in the bioenergetic wellness system. Now, biosync traditionally over the last couple of years hasn't worked offline, but we're basically now making so that you'll be able to see the results offline. You won't be able to see all the glorious graphics and help files, because that's better done in a richer online experience, and we'd be forever updating it, and then then it would be as out of date as Provision again. So we'd be back in the same scenario without the advantages of a cloud-based system. However, we are going to make it so that in the cases that you haven't got internet access, you can basically get a scan and get the results instantly. But it is worth remembering, in the days of, well, basically every single cell phone is an internet, is basically a Wi-Fi router. So it's pretty much no situation. Very rarely is there a situation where you can't get internet. So and obviously that especially will be true when it all ends up in the phone, which is, really the ultimate experience, and is see where the company is going with that. So you'll just be able to scan really anyone anywhere without logging, without taking your computer around. All right, what else am I going to show you? Yeah, so I mean, we've also got the animal system in here now. So you can scan your animals in here. There is a new like brain performance screen now with brain performance. Now we were always reluctant to release these before, but basically that there is, there's the EI system of EI 1 to 12. Technically, there's another. It goes up all the way to 24. As you know, when you get to EI 12, you're getting to the light spectrum. So EI 13 to 16 is in this sort of ultraviolet, into X-ray type places. And me and Peter took EI 13 to 16, God, back 14 years ago now, I guess. And it made us so psychic and our brains so mentally active. We just thought it wasn't really quite sort of ready for the broader community. So we didn't release it. But in retrospect, so that, I mean, that's basically why we've named it Brain Performance. In retrospect, if you want to enhance the brain and get more performance, then we basically recommend it. Or of course, if you're wanting to correct more serious brain issues, but as a general overall sort of health and wellness, we generally recommend you just stick to the conventional EI 1 to 12. But when people want to push it and enhance the brain, here it is. And for us, it's really sort of a completion of the, I guess, of the work in that period, because we did work all of that out back 8-9 years ago. We didn't release it. Same with the MRs, like we didn't quite release it in a full format with the training. So in BWS now, you basically have the brain performance screen, and then we also have the MR screen. Now the MR screen will go a bit further actually, because we're going to link it to the energetic integrators that each MR corresponds to, because basically each MR, basically the MRs help different integrators to communicate. So if you get a block in the information flow across the integrator system, that's really where you use the MRs. So if you like, they're like stars for the My Health. That's probably the best way of describing them. They're just like super unblockers that we put in the My Health. So yeah, this MR screen is also in there, and we're also going to tag it with the other basically the other EIs that each MR is associated with. So yeah, I think that's around about it. So I hope that's been informative of what BWS is, and and it's something to be embraced and excited about. And we do genuinely see it as the way to help reach an awful lot of people in a lot of languages, because unfortunately it wasn't a scalable proposition to basically when you have a downloadable piece of software, separate training in hard copies, and on sites, and to try and update everything in all of these languages, it became messy, and obviously it wasn't self-sustaining the first time round. This time round, as we basically go out again into basically as we go out into multiple languages again, this time we want to do it in a nice steady way, piece by piece. And we believe BWS is the way to do that, because we can give a uniform experience, whether you're whether you're English, whether you're French, whether you're Dutch, whether you're Japanese, or wherever you are on the globe, basically the latest information, the latest screens, the latest material will all be there for everyone in their appropriate language, and we can get the product to everyone that's needed, and then that is basically supplemented and added by local trainers, and Peter obviously trains all around the globe to help educate people all about this. But anyway, please, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me or someone in the company. And I would just urge you, even if you absolutely love Provision and TWS, please just have a look at BWS anyway, because even from the training end of just being able to access the latest material, because every single newsletter will be there in all languages, every single video, every single marketing material you can use for clients. Everything is in BWS, and obviously that isn't possible to do in an offline piece of software like Provision. So but I'm pretty sure that soon enough you'll be using BWS and not using Provision, but just try it out for yourselves. All right, well, enjoy your weekend, and thank you for listening. And I'm going to run off to Phoenix, and I've got to get a flight there. All right, bye for now.